Hello, I'm Janessa. Welcome to my channel. I actually just finished recording my introduction video to this new series where I'm sharing more about my journey with health and wellness. And one of the things I raised in that introduction video, which go take a look at that if you're curious about what this is all about, but I shared how I have personal experience taking compounded semaglutide. And I thought, why not just make it one of the first videos I put out there and be transparent, share with you what that experience has been. It's not necessarily going to be such a huge part of this series because it's just one aspect of my health and wellness. But I also know that there's a lot of information out there and a lot of people seeking information, and this is not medical advice. This is not any sort of advice. I'm purely sharing my personal experience just in case it's helpful to hear from someone else, maybe, who has taken the medication. And I've gone through my own process with it, still going through that process. So I'm going to open up. I'm going to be transparent, vulnerable. And my request is just if you comment below, be kind. I know this is a very controversial medication in some circles, in some communities, not everywhere. Not everyone sees it as controversial, but from my personal experience, it is something that seems like it's quite charged for certain people in who should be taking it, who shouldn't be taking it, should no one be taking it, for weight loss in particular, which was the primary reason why I took it. So let's start just with a timeline, I guess, to put things in context, and also a little bit of context around my history, which it's something I want to do. I want to open up again on YouTube about health, wellness, and fitness. But just side note, this is something that I still feel pretty nervous about because I've done different things on YouTube before. I used to share my story with Olympic weightlifting, and then it was bodybuilding. And so I used to have content out on YouTube where I would get into some of my journey. And I always mentioned how, I had an eating disorder and struggled with an eating disorder when I was younger, in particular in my 20s. But it's something that also, when I got done with my competitive athletics, so I was done with Olympic weightlifting. I did my one bodybuilding show, which was with the WBFF, which is the bodybuilding federation where you get to wear like the really glittery like costume on stage, and that was fun. It was great. There were some really, really wonderful experiences I had with both of those athletic endeavors. And coming out of that bodybuilding show, I had a lot of life changes hit me at once. I moved to the Boston area, which is where I've been living for a while now. And the life transition was probably one of the hardest life transitions I've been through. I was really struggling coming out of my athletic pursuits, out of sports in a sense, and trying to reestablish a new normal. And so I gained a lot of weight. I didn't do that initially. Coming on my bodybuilding show is actually really lean still for quite a while. It wasn't until this was probably 2023, I think, was when I moved to Boston. Yeah, it was like June 2023. I did my show in April. It wasn't until a few months after that where things really started to unravel. Like the winter hit. I struggle with winter. Like it really activates some more of those tendencies I might have, I guess, around depression in particular, seasonal affective disorder, all of that, and just the seasonal shift and change. But on top of that, just having all these other lifestyle things that I was dealing with at the time, new environment, new location, different kind of struggle with like career and what I was doing and things going on socially and in relationships. So I really gained a lot of weight and struggled with binging again. So I hadn't binged like that for a while. Probably the last time that I really, really struggled with binge eating was years ago. And it was when I came out of my Olympic weightlifting experience the first time. I've done it a couple times. The first time was in my 20s, and I actually qualified for the American Open Finals, and so competed at that in Anaheim, California. This was in 2017, and had a really hard time coming out of that experience. And so that was when binging really, really intensified for me. And so this was similar to that, coming out of the bodybuilding show, coming out of this, or still in this very big life transition. And it was very hard to figure out, how do I behave differently? How do I, and I'm someone who's been through, just again, like disclosure, been through many, many years of intensive therapy. I did eating disorder treatment. I've done so many things to address this part of my personal challenge with food and my body. And I felt late 2023 going into 2024 and the first part of 2024, I was starting to feel desperate. Like, is this ever going to change for me? And maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you have something in your life, some sort of pattern or behavior that just keeps coming up, and it's such a struggle. And I was always very anti-pharmaceuticals, actually, even though I would take some supplements, like magnesium or vitamin D, or there were certain supplements that helped with athletic performance. I mean, I'm big with caffeine. I love caffeine. I love coffee. When it comes to pharmaceutical grade drugs, I was always a natural athlete. I never touched any sort of drugs, and I always tried to stay away from medication. I was very skeptical of semaglutide and these other weight loss medications. I guess we call them weight loss medications, but it seems like research is suggesting, from what I understand as a lay person, that there might be a lot of different applications of this. And from my personal experience as an individual, it seems like there could be some pretty impressive mental health benefits. But before I get to that, just to set the stage, that was not something that I foresaw myself ever trying, but I was pretty desperate, and I ended up getting access to a prescription from a licensed medical provider. And it wasn't something that I was getting from another source. It was from a medical doctor. And I started the medication. I think I got the prescription in June, and it was specifically for compounded. So I've only ever taken compounded semaglutide. And I started it, I took notes on this on my little notebook. Okay, so I got my notes in this notebook. So I had to go back and look at my calendar. So I started the medication itself June 29th. It was a Saturday, June 29th, 2024. It took me about 3 months to get up to what was my maximum dose that I ever took. So by October or so of 2024, I hit that maximum dose for me. And that was what seemed like would be the therapeutic level for me. And, my provider agreed. Yep, cool. Stay there if you're feeling good. So from about October to February of 2025, so that's about 5 months, I just cruised at that dose. It was enough. I was getting results with weight loss, but even more importantly, I was, what I felt like, having my life changed in so many other ways. Now, it doesn't come without side effects, so I'll be transparent with you. Especially in those first 2 to 3 months, my main side effects were nausea and heartburn, but it wasn't anything that required a medication to deal with, like a prescribed medication. I took some Tums, periodically, and it did seem to flare up mostly when I had like higher fatty foods. In particular, there was a little bit of a trend there. There was one side effect, though, that I did not anticipate at all, just because it didn't register to me that it was a possibility, but my motion sickness got much worse. Before, I would get motion sickness here and there in cars, on planes, things like that. But since being on the medication, I would say more often than not, if I'm on a long plane trip or I'm in a car for a while where I'm not driving, that motion sickness requires like a ginger mint or something like that just to settle things. I haven't taken Dramamine or anything to address it. It was more like up to maybe moderate level of a side effect for me personally, just the motion sickness. And as far as the nausea and the heartburn, that's pretty much been absent for many, many months. So those are the only negative side effects that I've experienced. When it comes to the benefits, like I said, I was pretty blown away. I mean, yes, the weight loss, that was major. I think I've lost almost 30 pounds in total. I'm 5 feet tall. So 30 pounds on a 5 foot tall woman's frame is pretty significant. Like I said, I gained a lot of weight. It wasn't the most weight I've ever weighed in my life. The highest my weight ever was, I was actually technically obese. It was like 155 to 160 pounds for me as a 5 foot tall woman. And when I started this medication, I was just over 140, into the 140s, somewhere in there. And now I've settled down around kind of between like right around 114-ish. As far as the other benefits though, I really want to share that because I know when I started taking the medication, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't have access to a lot of personal stories online to listen. Always the disclaimer, I have no idea what your experience would be, could be, what someone else's is. This is not medical advice. This is just my personal story. I feel like I have to say that over and over again. But for me, this medication has completely changed my life. I feel like I got my brain back. That's how I describe it. Actually, when I have personal conversations with people, like with my friends, my family, my loved ones, for me, I think of this as a brain drug, as a very, very powerful drug that has helped me so much with my mental and emotional health. I feel like my depression symptoms, my anxiety symptoms, like they're not really, I don't want to say they've gone away because I don't want to get into that trap. I did this years ago, actually, when I thought that I had like overcome, my struggles with eating and body image. And I was like, I am in such a healed place. And then life happened. And I actually had a lot of shame about it for a long time, how I felt like I had said publicly, oh, I've overcome this and this is so amazing. And then turns out, I got a big old lesson in humility with it coming up again. So I don't want to make that mistake again. I feel like I have a little more experience right now, a little more awareness at this point in my life to know that never say never. I don't know what life will bring me. Of course, it's possible I could struggle with depression again, anxiety again. But what I do know is that the change that I've experienced over the last year and a half or so since starting this medication is phenomenal. Something that I just didn't anticipate, having such a positive shift. And here's Sadie. She's joining us for a little video. I don't know. Maybe she'll come here. Geez. So guaranteed I'm gonna get more hair on my face now. Oh, she hasn't been feeling well today, so I'm not surprised that she kind of wants to hang out a little bit. Do you see yourself? Do you see yourself? I think my laptop's down here, and what the camera's picking up is displayed here, and I think she sees me or she sees herself on my laptop screen. It's kind of freaking her out. Anyway, we'll try to keep going and maybe wrap this up fairly quickly just to get to where I am right now. So February 2025 was when I started making dose changes, because October 24 to February 25, I was at my maximum dose. It was working for me. And then in February of 2025, I hit a good weight. And when I say a good weight, it was just it was around where I had anticipated landing or settling, but I was also basing that on just how I felt in my body and recognizing that this was comfortable. I still felt like I could be active. I was really starting around that time to feel that desire again to train, to get back into strength, because during the course of this, and I could talk more about it, let me know in the comments below if you want me to talk more about like my nutrition and my exercise throughout the journey. But I wasn't doing a ton of strength training for what I have been used to with competitive athletics in the past. So my goals were starting to shift. is what I'm saying. My goals were shifting. I was feeling really good. And I had a feeling that I may not have access to the medication. Because again, I've been on compounded semaglutide, and I made the decision before it was removed to change things. I'm glad I did, looking back, that I followed that kind of gut response. And I also went on this medication thinking, I don't really know if I'm going to be on this forever. I don't really want to be on this forever. After feeling the positive mental health benefits, though, a part of me was like, man, I could see myself staying on a small dose of this. Like, if it could really help me maintain where I am now, mentally and emotionally, in such a good place, I would like to do that. Unfortunately, because compounded semaglutide is no longer available, I lost access to that prescription. Now, I was fortunately in a position where I still had one shipment coming in right before everything took effect with the compounded semaglutide. So I was able to have a store of the compounded semaglutide that I've been slowly weaning myself off of over the last few months. And it's been a process of really slowly like titrating down, going down in very small amounts, periodically spread out. And that has worked well for me. I was nervous about that at first. I was very nervous about coming down off of the medication because I felt like I kind of knew like where my therapeutic level was, where like at that or just above it, amazing. Felt so good. I just had a great relationship with food. The food noise, that was the other thing, mentally, emotionally, like the food noise, completely gone. I mean, I am 36 years old now as I record this, and I have struggled in some way with food or food noise or behaviors around food or body image issues since I can remember elementary school. Like, really, that being a huge part of taking up my mental capacity. And over the years, it's gone up and down, right? There have been periods of time in my life where that food noise and that obsession and all that struggle has taken up a huge amount of my mental capacity and other capacities in my life. And then other times where it's been quieter. But I've never experienced that type of quiet that came with the medication. And it, again, I'll keep saying it, life-changing for me personally. So I was a bit nervous about starting to come off of it because I noticed as I was coming down, food noise was coming back up. That was disappointing, but I also knew, okay, if I just do this in a slow, titrated way and use all of my experience, the knowledge I've gained, the tools that I have, that I've been like cultivating and gathering over many years of struggling and having to try to figure this out when it comes to nutrition, wellness, fitness, relationship with food, relationship with body image. I mean, all of this, I feel like all of that struggle prepared me for this process of coming down on the medication and figuring out how to make that work for me, because I want the changes that I experienced to be sustained. I want to hold on to those, not just weight loss for, hi baby, not just weight loss. I mean, it's all these other benefits I've talked about. Are you listening to this story too? She's so precious right now. She's so sweet. So how do I get us to the present? Because I need to wrap this up. This is kind of turning into longer than I want it to be. But basically, long story short, it's September now as I record this, and I've just been diligently, bringing that medication down and reinforcing all of these good behaviors that I've cultivated around food and exercise. And I feel good. What's really, really amazing, and I'm so grateful for, is that weight that I hit in February is basically where I'm at now. So as I've been coming off the medication, I've maintained my weight. I mean, within like plus or minus a couple pounds. Like 1 month, it might be up a pound or two. And then the next month, it's like down a pound or two. And then like I had a big life stress situation related to my other YouTube channel. Like my weight dropped because of the stress. But I mean, really, like if you look at a graph, if I looked at a graph and showed it to you from February to now, it's just been like maintained. And I'm really, really happy about that. So that's where I'm at now. I'm still in the process of completely coming off. I'm not quite sure yet how long that runway will be. It kind of depends on a few factors, but I wanted to share this in transparency and disclosure, just in the context of this series of sharing more about my own story, my own journey, that this is a part of it. And it's a really important part of it. It's an impactful part of it. And there are so many other things I want to talk about. It's not just about the medication. If anything, the medication has just solidified for me the importance of all of these other things that I do for my health and wellness. And yeah, for me, the medications seem to have helped. Hi, baby. Seem to have helped me like unlock something, unlock a new phase of my journey. But it's all of these other things that are going to help me sustain the change long term. So that's it. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Hope that we can connect also through the other videos of this series. Sadie also, like I said, will be making an appearance. Can you see her? You see? She's looking around. Here, let's see. You see? No, she's just really tired. It's okay. Okay. Oh, she hears something in the hallway. So I'm definitely going to wrap this up now. But thank you so much for watching. And I look forward to connecting again soon.